Welcome back to The Mind, a podcast series by the Ramakrishna Vedanta Centre New Zealand, a conversation at the meeting point of modern science and the contemplative traditions of yoga and Vedanta. I'm Rama, your host. Last time, the group learned to read any moment of the mind as a meeting between what is out there and what you bring. But a question was left hanging at the end. Who does all that bringing? Who points the attention? Who decides what a thing means? Who hands up the old memories? Who claims the whole moment as mine? Today they meet the cast, the small crew of players working inside every one of us, and they meet them through one of the oldest and most beautiful images in the contemplative world, a chariot. A rider, a driver, the reins, the horses, the road. Get the players into their proper seats, and the chariot carries you where you choose to go. Let the seating go wrong, let the horses seize control, and life starts happening to you instead of being lived by you. And here is the quietly stunning part. Anxiety, in this picture, is the horses bolting, and depression is the horses lying down in the road. Not moral failures, seating problems. And the breath turns out to be the quickest way to calm bolting or fallen horses, though, as the group discovers, settling the horses is only the first step. The real journey home is waking the driver. Who is driving? Let's join them. The same room. The easel now holds a simple line drawing of a chariot.
Before we meet the cast, tell me how reading the meeting went.
The split helped most. My son left his plate out again, and the old surge came up, but I caught it. Tiny thing out there, big pile of me on top. The pile didn't vanish, but I could see it was mine. I didn't make it his fault this time.
I caught the wobble mid-lesson, that half-present managing feeling, and tuned in. The room changed in about 10 seconds. I'm starting to believe presence is the actual lesson plan.
I ran the push versus step-off experiment on a 1 a.m. replay loop. Push-in made it worse, exactly like you said. 3 breaths and attention to the actual room loosened it. I didn't expect the difference to be that obvious.
I showed 2 patients that they were pushing the wheel, then offered one small step off. One of them said, "No one's ever told me trying harder was the problem." That landed hard for both of us. So today's question is mine again. When I see the wheel spinning, who inside that person has actually lost control of it?
The perfect question, Doctor. And the whole lesson. Let's find the cast first, in your own experience. Everyone, a short one. Eyes soft. Bring back one ordinary recent moment. The last time you opened your phone. The last time something irritated you. Don't analyze it. Just let it be here. Now notice, 4 different things were happening at once. Where was your attention pointing? That's one player. What interpretations sprang up? What it meant? Whether it was good or bad? That's a second. What memory or old pattern rose up and colored it? A third. And how did it become yours? A thing happening to you, needing your response. A fourth. 4 jobs, usually blurred into one. And one last question. In that moment, who was in charge? Was someone steady choosing where this all went? Or was it just running you?
Mostly running me, honestly. The phone thing especially. There wasn't a me deciding, it just happened.
That honesty is the doorway, Kai. And you've just named the whole problem this lesson solves. Those 4 jobs are the crew of your inner instrument. And whether someone's steering them or they're steering you is the single most important thing about any moment of your mental life. An old text drew it as a chariot. Let me give it to you. 3,000 years ago, the Chitta Upanishad drew the inner life as a chariot in motion, and it's never been bettered. Picture it. The chariot itself is your body. The horses are your senses, pulling toward everything bright and loud and tasty on the road. The roads they run down are the objects of the world. The reins that guide the horses are what we called attention a moment ago. The contemplative tradition's name is manas, the part of you that turns toward this, then that. The charioteer holding those reins is your power of discernment, of judgment, of deciding what matters and where to go. The contemplative tradition calls it Buddhi. And the one sitting in the back, the rider, the one for whom the whole journey is made, who simply is, that is the self, the awareness we touched in the very first lesson.
So 4 jobs and a passenger. Where's the claiming it as mine one? And the memory one?
Good ear, Sarah. The memory field. The vast store of every impression you've ever taken. The grooves that shape what you expect before you even look. The contemplative tradition calls Chitta. It's not a player in the chariot so much as the whole terrain it's been driving across for years, the ruts worn into the road. And the claiming as mine, that's the most peculiar one, called Ahaṁkāra, the I-maker. It's the tilt we met last week, the standing posture of me and mine, that you carry into every moment before it even begins, and then the busy work of stitching all those moments into a story called me. So, chariot, horses, reins, charioteer, rider, body, senses, attention, discernment, self, all driving across the terrain of memory. That's the whole instrument.
And in a good moment, the charioteer's in charge.
That's the entire teaching in one sentence, James. When the charioteer is awake and holding the reins firmly, the discernment guides the attention steadies the senses, and the body carries you where you actually choose to go. The flow of command runs from the top down, from the steady seat of judgment, down through attention, down to the senses and the body. That's a life navigated. It's also exactly what every practice you've ever heard of is quietly training. And notice it works on all the parts at once. Steadying attention is strengthening the reins. Cultivating discernment is waking the charioteer, and that, the waking of the charioteer, is the real heart of the work. Settling the body and breath is calming the horses, and reshaping the terrain itself, the old grooves the chariot keeps running into, is the slow work we turn to next lesson. None of it is mystical. It's all chariot maintenance, and a good practice tends every part together.
But you said mostly it runs us, so what's the failure?
The hierarchy flips, Kai. In the state most of us live in most of the time, the horses take over. Something bright flashes on the road, the senses bolt toward it, the reins get yanked out of the charioteer's hands, and the chariot is dragged wherever the strongest pull leads. The command now runs bottom up, the body and its impulses driving attention dragging judgment behind it like a passenger who's lost the wheel. And here's the thing to hold on to, because it changes how you see almost everyone, including yourself. That flip is not a character flaw, it's a seating problem. And it has 2 classic shapes. Doctor, you asked who loses control of the spinning wheel. Here are the 2 answers, and you'll recognize both from your consulting room. The first shape. The horses bolt. Something alarms the system, the body floods with alarm, the senses and the racing arise, stampede forward, and the reins are torn loose. Attention is dragged from one fearful thing to the next. The charioteer is shouting from behind but holding nothing. Fast, shallow breath, pounding heart, no off switch. What do you call that in the clinic?
Anxiety, panic. That is exactly the felt sense, being dragged by something I can't rein in.
Anxiety is the horse's bolting, Doctor. And the second shape is its mirror. The horses lie down in the road. The energy drains out of the system. The senses go dull. Nothing pulls. The chariot won't move at all. The charioteer still has the reins, but the horses won't rise. Heavy limbs, flat voice, grey days, the sense that effort is pointless.
Depression. And that maps onto something I've struggled to explain to patients. Why just try harder, just decide to get up, is not only useless, but cruel.
Because the charioteer can still decide, Doctor, but the horses won't lift, and willpower alone cannot raise a collapsed horse. That's the structural reason pull yourself together fails, and it lets you stop blaming the person for it. Now, notice that both shapes are the same inversion, command running from the body upward instead of from judgment downward, just in opposite directions. One has too much energy with no control, the other has too little energy to move. And in both, there's a sensible first move, and then the real work. Sarah, what's the first thing that's helped you?
The breath, usually. Slowing it down settles me more often than not.
It does settle you, Sarah, and it's the right first move. So let me place it carefully because it's easily overrated. The breath is the one rein you can always still reach in the moment. When the horses are bolting, slow, long out-breaths settle the alarm. When they're lying down, gentle, energizing breath and a little movement lift them enough to stand. That's real, and it's why steadying or rousing the breath is the sensible first aid, and why the modern clinics found it too. But notice exactly what it does. It calms the horses. It buys you a steadier moment. It is not, by itself, the journey home, and breathwork is only a small part of the path. The lasting work is waking the charioteer, the Buddhi, your power of discernment, and steadying it until it can hold the reins on its own and stay turned toward the self riding behind it. That steadying of the charioteer to a single point has a name, one-pointedness of attention, and learning it is the work of the next module. So, breath to settle the horses now, the long work to wake and steady the charioteer. Don't mistake the first move for the whole road.
Can I take the first aid part into a classroom? Because I have both. Some kids are bolting, some have lain down.
You can, James, and you read the stable beautifully. The bolting child needs the horses settled before any learning. A pause, a breath, a slowing. The lain-down child needs gentle activation, a small movement, a reachable task, something to get the horses to stand. That settles the room enough that the real work, their attention steadying onto something worth holding, can even begin. Same reading you'd make of a room, of a patient, of yourself. Which way has the chariot gone wrong? What settles the horses? And then what steadies the driver? That's the diagnostic art, and you already have its first half. Let's put the chariot to work on 4 real states, so you see it's not just a pretty picture. 2 you've named. Add 2 more. Kai, picture the anxious one fully. The worry arrives, the body floods, attention darts between a dozen versions of the disaster, and every single one gets stamped, my problem, my fault if it goes wrong. Horses bolting, reins loose, and the eye maker pouring fuel on the fire by claiming every spark.
That's my exam brain exactly. And the my fault tag is the worst part. It makes it heavier.
It does, Kai. And noticing that the tagging itself adds weight is already half the freedom. Now the depressed mind. The world still arrives, but barely registers. The filter is running grooves of, what's the point, I'm hopeless. The energy's collapsed, and the eye maker has gone rigid and grim. I am worthless, which locks the whole thing down. Horses lying down, and the self-story nailing them there. Third, the opposite. A mind in deep meditation. breath long and even, thoughts arriving with space around them and dissolving without being grabbed. The charioteer wide awake, holding light reins, the sense of me gone quiet and transparent. The flicker we talked about last week has nearly stilled. That's the mind at rest in good order.
And the fourth?
The fourth is my favourite, Sarah, because it shows that good order isn't only stillness. Picture a musician utterly lost in playing. Tremendous activity, hands flying, fully engaged, but not anxious at all. The charioteer's awake, the reins are firm, the horses are galloping through difficult terrain in perfect coordination, and there's no me playing this, just the music happening. Years of practice made the chariot so reliable, it holds even at full speed. That's what people call being in flow. Same healthy order as the meditator, but in full motion instead of stillness. So there's your range. 2 ways the chariot fails, and 2 ways it works, one still, one moving. And reading any mind, your patient's, your student's, your own, is just this. Which way is the chariot running, and what does it need?
What strikes me is that it's all one diagnosis, on one scale, not a catalogue of separate disorders, but degrees of fit and misfit in the same instrument.
That's the deepest gift of it, Doctor, and I want to say it plainly because it changes everything downstream. When the chariot's in good order, the mind is clear, accurate, alive. The contemplative tradition calls that fit, rhythm. When the hierarchy's inverted and the system's noisy or stuck, that's anruta, misfit. But here's the crucial thing. A noisy, suffering mind is not a broken mind. It's a misfitted one. And misfit can be refitted, because the very same instrument that produces the suffering contains the path back. You're never repairing a broken machine. You're helping a chariot find its proper order again. That's a completely different stance to take toward a suffering person, and a far kinder one.
That's such a relief to hear, actually. For my kids and for me. Not broken, just out of order. And order can come back.
Hold exactly that, Sarah. It's true of every mind in this room and every mind you'll meet. We've now done the big work of the middle of this module. You can read the players, the chariot, and the 4 states. There's one mystery left, and the diagnostic exercise will have raised it for you. Why does the mind come pre-shaped? Why do the same grooves run year after year? That terrain the chariot drives across, where did its ruts come from? That's where we go next. This week, one practice in 2 parts. First, read your own chariot once a day. Second, when you find the hierarchy inverted, make the smallest move to settle the horses, and the breath is almost always that first move. Then notice that the charioteer still has to wake and take the reins. Sarah, here's yours. Once a day, especially in a hard moment, ask just one question. Who's holding the reins right now? Is there a steady you choosing, or have the horses taken the bit? You don't have to fix it. Naming "the horses have it" is often enough to bring the charioteer half awake.
Ask who's driving before I do anything else. That would change my whole evening.
It will, Sarah. James, yours is the stable. Once this week, read your class as horses. Are they bolting, lying down, or running well? Then give the matching repair, settle the bolters, lift the fallen, and stay out of the way of the ones running well. Notice that the same room needs different things on different days.
Read the horses, then match the repair. That's a kinder and smarter classroom than "everyone, focus now."
Much kinder, James. Kai, yours fits the skeptic. When your mind next bolts, a worry, a spiral, Watch it as a chariot. Horses pulling, reins loose, the eye-maker stamping mine on everything. Then take the one rein you can reach, slow the breath, and watch whether the charioteer gets a hand back on the reins. Treat it as an experiment in who's driving.
Watch the bolt as a chariot, then grab the breath rein. I like that it's observable. I'll run it.
That's the spirit, Kai. And Dr. Watson, yours is clinical, and you're already halfway there. With one patient, read the chariot out loud, gently. Are the horses bolting or lying down? Then pick the matching first move, breath to settle or gentle activation to lift, and frame it for them as reclaiming the reins, not as calming down or cheering up. Watch how differently it lands when it's a seating problem, not a character problem.
Name the inversion, match the first move to its direction, settle the horses with the breath, and keep in view that the deeper repair is the driver waking and steadying. And carry the line that they are misfitted, not broken. That is a better medicine than I was taught.
Then both lenses are yours now, the meeting and the chariot. You can read any mind in the room, including your own, and you know roughly what it needs. Next time we ask the question all of this has been circling. Why is the terrain already so deeply rutted before we ever start driving? Where does the inherited shape of a mind come from?
And so the cast took their seats. The mind, it turns out, is not one thing, but a small crew. Attention, the reins; discernment, the charioteer; the senses, the horses; the body, the chariot. And seated quietly behind them all, the self, the one the whole journey is for, with the vast terrain of memory underfoot and the tilt of me angling the ride. When the charioteer holds the reins, life is navigated from a steady center. When the horses seize control, life is merely undergone. And that inversion has two familiar shapes: the horses bolting, which we call anxiety, and the horses lying down in the road, which we call depression. Neither is a flaw of character. Both are seating problems, and both are first eased at the breath, the one rein always within reach, slowed to settle the bolting horses, gently quickened to raise the fallen. Though the breath only calms the horses, the lasting repair is waking the charioteer, the power of discernment, and steadying it to a single point until it holds the reins in tune with the self, which is the craft the next module teaches. The group read 4 real minds this way: 2 in disorder, 2 in good order, 1 still, and 1 in full flight, and found them all on a single scale, fit and misfit in one instrument. And the gentlest truth of the whole lesson: a suffering mind is not broken, only out of order, and the same instrument that lost its order carries the way back to it. To go deeper, the full Lesson 4.4 is available in the course Beginners, Conversations on the Mind in the Light of Modern and Spiritual Sciences on the Ramakrishna Vedanta Center's website, www.vedanta.nz. It is also available as an app on Google Play and the Apple App Store by searching for Vedanta NZ. Next time, we ask where the ruts in the road came from, why a mind arrives already shaped, why the same patterns run for years, and what exactly we inherit. Until then, be gentle with your mind.